It seems like just yesterday when I first met Sean Brannon, I remember seeing in him and seeing this guy really has a lot of potential, that he really could do well in his life. And it was hard because I saw him at a point before he really got involved in the gang scene. So I saw that potential, and I wanted so bad for him not to have to experience rough times in his life.
I'm going to tell you about two people in my life who inspired me, who have encouraged me, as well as motivated me to not only be the person I am today, but who have allowed me and helped me to be where I am at today. One of these people, of which is my mother, and the other person is a good friend of mine and someone that I still remain in contact with today. His name is Kevin LaChapelle. I met Kevin in 1992. I was 16 years old. I was attending Chaparral Continuation High School in El Cajon. And at this time, Kevin was the gang and narcotics investigator for the El Cajon Police Department. He was assigned to my school to deal mainly with the gang problems. The reason that I was at this continuation high school is because I was expelled from my original high school for doing graffiti and vandalism to school property. You know, this right here was just the start. Everything went downhill from there. Right, later that school year, I started hanging out with some gangsters from one of the local El Cajon gangs called VU. You know, at first it just started being a school thing. Then I started hanging out with them after school. Then I started doing stuff with them on the weekends. And before I knew it, I'm hanging out with them every day. You know, there's one thing I gotta tell you about gangs is that gangs, they always got problems with other gangs. And before I knew it, you know, just from me being associated with VU, I got the same problems they got.
I remember over the years when he got entrenched more and more into the gang culture, and how scary it was for me, because I was the one investigating the gang crimes, and I knew how many stabbings, shootings, and just on and on, all the violence, the incredible violence with these young people that they were involved in.
One of the most serious consequences that happened to me because of the gang lifestyle that I chose happened to me when I was 19 years old. I got shot. You know, this was in 1996. I think it was like a Monday night, February 12th. You know, it's about 10 o'clock, and we're at the 7-Eleven on Broadway and Mollison in El Cajon. And as I turn around, there's this car pulling up into the parking lot. And it stops. These two gangsters get out of the car. And they start approaching me, you know what I mean? You know, and automatically I knew they were from one of the other gangs in El Cajon. They come up to me, they get about 10 feet away. He reaches into his hip pack, he pulls out a Chrome 25 automatic, and as he pulled out that gun, he pointed it dead at me, and I remember I was just frozen, you know what I mean? I didn't even know what to do, you know what I mean? And he points the gun at me. Then as he's pointing the gun at me, I start backing up real fast. I start backpedaling. And then, since I'm the closer one, he points the gun straight back at me and lunges at me, comes at me. So I turn around and I start kind of running. I remember being so scared at that point, and I was running so fast that my body was going faster than my feet were going. And I remember almost toppling over. And a good thing that I didn't, because he would have killed me right there on the spot. Then all of a sudden, I remember running and hearing the first gunshot. And all I heard was crack. I could hear the echo. And all I remember is running and hearing that first gunshot. And then all of a sudden, crack, I hear another gunshot. And I don't remember what shot it was, but all I remember is, as I'm running, I could feel this boom. It felt like someone had punched me in the back. And then instantly, boom, I could feel heat. And I looked down at my shirt, my white shirt, and I had this little blood spot on my shirt. And I'm still running, and, you know, he must have taken 4 or 5 shots at me. You know, and eventually I looked back, and the guy wasn't chasing me anymore. So I kept running. I ran to the other side of the parking lot. I went to this liquor store. I collapsed inside the liquor store, and next thing I knew, the ambulance came.
And I can remember specifically when Sean was shot. I remember getting a call from from a friend of his, McGill, who called me and told me that Sean had been shot and that he was on the way to the hospital, and he told me they didn't think he was going to make it. And immediately I remember thinking back to when I met Sean before he was fully involved into the gang scene, and really feeling guilty, thinking, what could I have done more? How did this happen? But I also saw it as an opportunity that I wanted to go to the hospital. I wanted to go see him. I wanted to be with him in perhaps the most trying time of his life, that him fighting for his very life, to just, I don't know, plant seeds to do something.
And, I spent a week in the hospital and a month in recovery from it. I'd have to say that was one of the turning points in my lifestyle that I chose. It was something I thought about all the time that, led to me eventually leaving the gang scene a couple years later. But, it was through a couple people in my life who pushed me, and, they allowed me to believe in myself. These two people, one of which is my mother, I thank you so much, and the other is my good friend Kevin. These two individuals, they pushed me, they influenced me, they motivated me to see the ability that I have to be somebody better. My mom always pushed for education, She always wanted me to go back to school. She said, why don't you go back to school? And, I tried the junior college thing in San Diego for a little while, but it just, I couldn't get away from the gangs, I moved to Salinas. I lived with my grandfather, and I started junior college up there. And I started a completely new life. I had to leave the gang scene behind, And I moved up there. I started junior college at Hartnell Junior College. And you know what? The change of environment, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. My appearance slowly changed, my dress changed. I started, light bulb came on, and it's like, life's great now, So I eventually, I did real good up there, I did 3 years of junior college there. I applied to all the universities. I ended up leaving the junior college with a 3.5 GPA. I transferred to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, and I majored in mathematics. I spent 3 years at Cal Poly. I graduated there, I'm happy to say, with a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics. I continued on with my education. I have obtained a teaching credential. I attained a single subject teaching credential in mathematics. Now that I've graduated, it feels so good, It's such an accomplishment, It puts this big smile on my face.
When I had the opportunity to sit in his class and watch him teach, things that came to my mind were, I wished I would have had him as a school teacher when I was in high school, because the subject he's teaching is the very subject that I hated most in school and that I had the most trouble with.
You all have the capability. I've seen you work in class. I've seen your assignments. You know how to do this stuff. It's all up here. Are you confident? You have faith in yourself. I have faith in you.
How do we find out what angle Z is? Because if I can get Z, then I know X. Okay, so what you want to do is, right, there's a lot of stuff going on here, but I don't need all this stuff.
148. 38.
Well, I want to set that example to be a role model, but I want people to look at me and see me as, it is possible to, go from someone who had no direction, someone who had no goals in life, to actually become someone and be someone who is respectable and is looked up to. I say that you should never give up on someone. Always give them the opportunity, give them a chance, because that's all they need. Is they just need someone to help push them, get them where they need to go. Then the rest is up to them. I appreciate always being there for me, sticking by my side and pushing me
never given up on me, and I truly thank you, Mom. I love you. I think everyone needs a mentor. They need a role model, a positive role model, someone that they can look to for advice, someone they can look to for guidance, for direction, for encouragement. Every day when I come home, I laugh, I smile, and it's like, man, I got the greatest job in the world, right? Because you see the impact that you have on these students, and man, it's tremendous. Like you see how I touch their lives, and the impact that I have, the influence I have over them, and I see the potential in them, and I want to help them, and it feels good. It's the greatest job in the world. This is my best friend right here. I love this guy. I owe him my life, man.